So 2009 is coming to a close, and as we look back, we see a ton of great releases this year. With the closeout of the year, everybody's throwing together their top 5 or top 10 lists of best video games of the year. For me personally, I definitely wanted to focus on the Nintendo DS, and I figured that was one console that if I don't cover any other ones, I will at least cover that one. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, and I'll show you guys my list of the top 5 games for the Nintendo DS for the year of 2009.
Number 5.
So, number 5 is Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. When I first heard of Grand Theft Auto coming to the Nintendo DS, I was kind of curious as to how they were going to handle it, and I didn't know if it would make a great transition to the Nintendo DS with its inability to produce incredible graphics. Obviously, some games have been able to handle the console and have been able to pull the most out of the console, but Grand Theft Auto being such a big game, it was kind of, I was curious to find out how they would go ahead and develop the game for this platform. But my hats off go to Rockstar and the fact that they produced what felt like a full-size game on a handheld. It's easily the best handheld iteration of the Grand Theft Auto series to date.
Number 4.
Number 4 is a brawler from Atlus, and that is Tokyo Beatdown. What a really cool game that Atlus put together and kind of snuck up on a lot of people. You all know that I'm a big fan of Atlus and the games that they put out, and anytime that a company is willing to revisit a genre like the beat 'em up genre and put out something that's new and in a lot of ways original, I'm always a fan of that. Tokyo Beatdown is no exception to that. It's a great game. It's got witty dialogue, and it's a game that's not afraid of making fun of its own self. So that's what I really enjoy about the game. The writing style is incredible, and it's definitely a game that if you are a fan of beat 'em up and 2D side-scrolling beat 'em ups, it's a game you should take a look at because it does it well, especially this day and age when we don't get a lot of those types of games.
Number 3.
Number 3 is Rhythm Heaven for the Nintendo DS. Rhythm Heaven, in my opinion, was one of the most addictive games that I played this entire year. I remember that it launched right as the DSi came out, and it was the first game that I picked up when I picked up my DSi. The game is a mix of WarioWare meets action rhythm, and the puzzles and the way that you play the game is just so much fun. It's all stylus based, and the music, in my opinion, is great. If you haven't gotten a chance to check that game out, it's definitely one that's worth picking up, especially now at the lower price point of like $15. So I'd recommend it to anybody out there who owns a DS, who likes rhythm action games, and that's why it's 3rd in my top 5.
Number 2.
Number 2 is an incredible game from Atlus, Nights in the Nightmare. Definitely one of the most unique games I played all year in terms of just what they were able to do with the DS and the unique style of gameplay. It is an RPG. It is a tactical style RPG, but the way you actually control the game and control your turn as the character, and even when you're on defense or you're on offense, it's just really unique, and you've got to control this wisp that's on screen with the stylus, and while you're on the defense, dodge bullets that are shot at you by the enemy. It's all really complicated to try to explain, so I would recommend just checking out some gameplay footage. It is a little bit difficult to try to get into, and it takes some time to get into, but once you get into the game, it's so addictive and it's so much fun that really it's one of the most original games that I've seen in quite some time. It's definitely a game that's worth having, and it's definitely deserving of number 2.
Number 1.
And number 1 might be a little bit of a surprise to some of you, but that game would be The Dark Spire for the Nintendo DS. The Dark Spire is by no means a technical achievement, but what the Dark Spire succeeds in doing is revisiting a classic style of RPG that dates back to the 80s and making it new and exciting and fresh, and really it does it by changing nothing at all. It reminds gamers who are fans of the classic RPG genre what exactly it was that made them fall in love with this genre to begin with. It's not for everybody, but it is my favorite game this year on the Nintendo DS. If you are willing to put in some time to face a challenge, and I'm telling you this game is very challenging, it's definitely worth it. If you haven't ever played, some of the old school RPGs and you want to see where RPGs came from and take a look back at the roots of RPGs, this is a great way to do it. It even includes a wireframe mode, which basically is a take on the traditional RPGs where it's all very, very basic drawings. It's all almost text-based, but it's so much fun and it's so addictive that once you get into the game and you start to really grind it out, you have a lot of fun with it. The inclusion of the soundtrack that Atlus put together with this is just something that was icing on the cake, but it's an awesome game. It's definitely my #1 game of the year for the Nintendo DS, and it's definitely well worth the top spot in my opinion.